Wrestling fans, promoters, wrestlers, and anyone who enjoys pro wrestling now have something new to be excited about. The Wrestling Fans International Association, the WFIA, is back. WFIA is an association that exists to promote, grow, and support professional wrestling throughout the world. Membership is free. Your membership includes a free digital bi-monthly publication of the Wrestling Fan News newsletter, association updates, voting privileges, and much more. Please go to thewfia.org, that's THEWFIA.org, and become a member today. Attention WFIA members, the virtual 2024 WFI convention will be this fall from September 13th through September 15th, 2024. Scheduled to appear are the world's strongest man, Ken Patera, the world's most dangerous announcer, Gary Michael Capetta, Bill Apter, and just recently signed the High Flyers, Jumpin', Jim Brunzell, and Greg Gagne, and folks, there's more coming on board. So run, don't walk to your keyboard, get on that computer, check the WFIA.org website and our Facebook page to see when these guys are going to be scheduled and their prices. Folks, if you are not a WFIA member, you will be paying an additional fee. So go to the WFIA.org today and register, become a member, and enjoy the podcast.
What's going on, everybody? This is Pro Wrestling Wire Radio. Rick Del Santo here, and he's back. The Greenport Destroyer. Andy Nichols is here. It's been quite some time since he's been a part of this show. We have a very special guest with us today, D Angelo. What's going on?
What's up, man?
It's glad to have you here. Thank you for thank you for making time for us here on this this evening.
Absolutely,
D'Angelo. Got one thing to ask you. What's up, Danger? Don't be a stranger. Come on, man.
I love it. Man, the first time I watched that movie, I had to replay that scene because during that whole scene during the movie, I just kind of felt that vibe, like it's about to get real, you know?
So tell the people what movie you're talking about, because a lot won't get it. Because I didn't get it until my kids turned me on to it.
So and that's another reason why I picked that as my theme song. So I'm talking about the Miles Morales movie. I think it was the first one, correct?
Okay, I'm the last guy to ask. Don't ask me.
Yeah, it was the first one, the Spider-Man Miles Morales. But dude, I heard that song and I was like, yo, that's it. That's the theme song. So I tried it.
Like we're in the car, my kids are playing this song, and they'll go on YouTube, and I'll be like, what are you playing? You know, I got to make sure it's clean. What are you playing? Oh, Dad, this is D'Angelo's theme song. Like, okay. Then I Googled it, and I'm like, okay, that came from Miles Morales. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So you're a big Marvel head?
I'm honestly not. I'm not at all. I happen to be watching the movie, and Marvel always has good soundtracks. So
right.
I was like, let me see what this is about. And I mean, that's really just how it came about. And I was like, well, I like it. I know the kids are going to know it and like it. So I tried it at one show and it got a big reaction and the kids were behind me. So I was like, yeah, I'm rolling with it.
And it's like kind of simple, but it's hype.
Exactly.
Richard, are you there?
I am. I'm just letting you two converse, if you will, you know? So let's talk a little bit about your career. I want to know how you got interested in this wonderful, wacky world of professional wrestling.
Oh, man.
Everybody's got a unique story.
So for me, it started at about 4 or 5 years old. I was, everybody's going to come on and say like, oh, I was a fan of pro wrestling. So I was in my mom's room. She was at work and I was playing with my wrestling toys, playing with my wrestling figures and whatnot. And I would always have a video on in the background. So it's like, that's the crowd noise. That way I'm not just sitting there like, because like I was innovative as a child. And there was like she had a kid stack for me of movies. Then she had like the non-PG movies that she was like, hey, don't watch these. Some of these are scary. I don't want to deal with it. And on top of that stack of scary movies was a CD case with a skull on it. So like I said, she was at work one day. I'm at the house with my grandma. My grandma's in the room asleep. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be devious. I'm gonna watch that scary movie with the skull on it. So I put the thing in the CD player, and it ends up being a Stone Cold Steve Austin home video. And I was like, yo. Because like I would just play with the wrestling toys, but I knew nothing about wrestling. Like they were hand-me-downs from my cousin. And I was like, yo, these guys, these are the same guys that I'm like pretend beating up with right now. And I'm like, okay, all right, this is pretty cool. So then like, are we PG on this?
No,
Richard?
we are free reign, no censorship.
Okay, well, cool. So my mom gets home and I'm like, I'll never forget it. I recited the whole Austin 316 promo. And like she walks in the house, she was like, how's your day, son? I'm like, well, Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. And
Did you get a whooping for that?
no, she died laughing. And then she explained to me how I can't say that around other people. But then she proceeded to have me like recite it in front of her friends, like, yo, this kid, like, he knows the whole thing. But yeah, I went to school and like I realized other people like wrestling too. And I was like, dang, like this is pretty cool.
That's
Now,
awesome. That's awesome.
Did you
Go ahead.
maintain your relationship with pro wrestling throughout the years, or did you have a fall off at any period in time? Or
No, I mean, once I got older, I got into football. That was kind of my heart through like grade school, high school, college. But I mean, even in grade school, like if there was a big time pay-per-view coming up and we had a game or something that morning, that Saturday morning, I wasn't going to the team party Saturday night. I was going home to watch SummerSlam or something like that, you know. And
Right.
you know, I kind of it seems like every time I get ready to fall out of love with wrestling, I end up going to a live show growing up. Because I remember, I think I was about 7 or 8, and I was like, you know, I'm really just liking football. Like that's what I want to focus on. And my mom came home with tickets to Monday Night Raw. This is the first live event I've ever been to, and it was the Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania 24.
Oh, wow.
what arena? What arena?
It was the Colonial Life Arena in Columbia.
Columbia. Okay.
It was the night that Shawn Michaels cut the old Yeller promo on Ric Flair. And
Okay.
like that I will always remember that because like I said, that was my first ever live event.
How are your seats? Were you close?
Oh yeah. Yeah. She had us like if I watched back the episode, you could see my little big head standing up in my chair.
Mom don't play. She got good tickets, huh?
Yeah. Like my mom, she went all out because she knew that was our thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then like my siblings came along and they fell in love with wrestling just like I did. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
did you go ahead, sorry.
What was you saying?
As a performer and a talent and a wrestler, is there ever a time where you maybe might fall out of love of wrestling?
I don't think I ever will. Like I'm
Okay.
I'm always gonna be a fan.
Yeah.
Like no matter how big I get into wrestling. Like prime example, this past weekend at UPWA, I was at my merch table and like it was doing pretty well, but I was like, dude, before I go back to the locker room, I gotta go get a picture with Buff Bagwell. You know, I mean it's Buff. Like once I really started deep diving into wrestling, that's when I started to realize like who guys like that were as a child.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I gotta go get this picture. Like, and then like that kind of shows the fans too that yeah, we're chasing this dream, but we're also still fans. So like that, and that's one thing I'm big on because there are a lot of guys that get into wrestling and they're like, oh, well, I'm one of the boys now. I can't be a fan. I'm like, well, what got you here from the get go?
All right.
Being a fan is what got you here from the get go.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is something I wanted to talk about. But before we say anything, is Rick, the merchandise wasn't doing well. Merchandise was popping, man. All these kids were rocking the D. I'm telling you, I'm not joking, man. All the kids in the audience had the D'Angelo headbands. I don't know if he was like doing buy one get three free, or what he was
No.
doing. But no, yeah, I got to spend some time with Buff Friday, and dude, like like I know this isn't about Buff, it's about you, but I just want to say, man, like that guy, and I get to spend some time with his girlfriend too. Really, she's really good woman. Um, that guy's been through hell. He's been to hell
Yeah.
and back, and how he's even standing, I don't know. But I think he's finally reached that point in his life where it's kind of like it's gotten him humbled to where he really sincerely appreciates what he has. Because dude, he talked to me for like an hour, and like I met him one time years and years and years ago, and he, not that we don't know each other, but just such a humble guy, very honest guy. And so you as a wrestler doing these shows, um, I would suggest if you have any time is just kind of sit. If you have any questions, talk to him, man.
Oh yeah.
You got to soak it in like a sponge. And I do, but I did want to talk about the thing with fans because the old guard pro wrestling was always like, we're the wrestlers, we're over here, they're the fans, they're down here. Like very condescending relationship. Do you still see some of that? Don't say any names, but do you still see some of that in some of the locker rooms with the old guard?
I do. And I mean, there is a now. Don't get me wrong. There is a fine balance between fan and wrestler, like because you do there. I've had situations where some fans feel like, oh, I'm in on it because I'm cool with this guy. Like, no man, like, this is still like I still see this as a job. Like that's like, and I had to make that example. Like I can use myself for an example because it's me, but I had to use that example with one of my friends. Like, hey man, just because I'm in wrestling doesn't mean that you get the same kind of like benefit that I get from it. Like you come to these shows, you got to buy a ticket.
I got a friend on a baseball team. That doesn't mean I get to jump in and be the pinch runner. You know what I mean?
Exactly. My cousin played in the NFL for 3 years. I didn't just show up at the practice facility saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm part of it."
There's a lot of guys around here in my area that they think they're something because they snap a lot of pictures on their phone and share them and then reshare flyers. And they're like, I've been doing work for years. It's like you press the share button on Facebook is what you did. So,
and that helps though. That does help. That is
it absolutely. I'm not taking that credit away, but they're forcing their way into, coming down and expecting free tickets to events and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even as a wrestler, like if I don't show up to a show, like if I'm just going to a show to hang out and I'm like, especially if I'm late and I'm not helping with setup or something like that, I'm gonna buy a ticket because that's common courtesy, like as a human.
That's respect. It's you're helping somebody that's on the show get a couple dollars in their pocket, all that stuff, stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly. Like, dude, there's shows that I showed up to with a ticket and end up getting booked last minute, and I was like, well, hey, I kind of bought a ticket.
Did I get a refund?
Oh no.
But no, you mentioned, we're talking about other sports and you mentioned football stuff. Now you told me that you played 3 sports prior to pro wrestling. Is that accurate? And
yes,
obviously football being one. What were the other 2 sports?
So I dabbled in everything. I narrowed it down to 3 because I only focused on 3 in high school. So yeah, I played varsity football as a freshman all 4 years through high school. I played basketball and then I played soccer in the spring. I also ran track my freshman year. And I attempted baseball, but I wasn't good at it. But I mean, outside of that, I also my very first sport was taekwondo, karate, and mixed martial arts. So, I feel like I've done it all in a way. But yeah, football ended up like winning my love. I played football after high school. It didn't really go well for me in college, so I ended up playing some semi-pro ball for a while, and that led to me getting a contract with an arena football team. So I played arena football for a little bit, and then that's when I got into wrestling.
What college did you go to?
I went to Benedict College down here in Columbus.
And then what arena football team did you play with?
I played with the Georgia Line Lions. It's in Augusta, Georgia, but it's right on the border of Augusta and South Carolina. So that's why it's Georgia Lina.
Okay. I didn't get that at first. I get it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But
so is there anything
they were always good to me though. So much love to them.
This is a weird question. I hope I ask it right. Is there anything that you got out of those 3 main sports that you mentioned that that taught you something that you applied to pro wrestling?
Oh my goodness. Pro wrestling and football, like there's a reason why a lot of football players can get into wrestling and just excel. Because a lot of the footwork is similar. A lot of the like explosiveness is similar. Like I which granted my trainer, Ethan Case, shout out to him. He during my training, he was really good at like kind of making stuff make sense to me in a football way. And then like it just happened to transition into wrestling. Like when I was learning how to run the ropes, he was like, "Hey man, when you get to the rope, do a spin move, but grab the rope as you do a spin move." Because like I just couldn't run the ropes for some reason. I was terrible. But he was like, "All right, cool. Now you got that motion of turning into the rope, so just do that. Like throw your body into the ropes." And I kept doing it, and I kept thinking like, "Okay, let me translate," and it worked. And like it really helped me understand wrestling because I never did any kind of amateur wrestling or anything like that. But like we have guys that I train with who were collegiate wrestlers and they taught me a little bit of their shoot background. So a lot of that is the same as the football fundamentals as well, like just that explosive nature. So which I was an explosive player, man. I played tight end, receiver, running back. Like everything I did was explosive. So
Basketball, what were you, shooting guard in basketball?
yeah, I played. I ran
that.
point a little bit, but I played mostly shooting guard.
I can see that.
You said that Ethan Cage was your trainer, your
Ethan
wrestling trainer? Cage.
Case.
Case. Okay.
Yeah.
I was okay, when you say okay, no problem. Go ahead. I was referring to another guy. So what was it like training with him?
Well, how did you even get started? Like, what made you get the balls to say I'm going to do this?
So while I was still playing arena football, I was still in college, and I was still in the football locker room. I was in the football dorms or whatnot. So we would all play Madden, uh, 2K, but there would always be times where like they would come in the room and I'm binge playing WWE. So like my roommate came in one night. He was like, "Man, you love that wrestling stuff, huh?" I was like, "Yeah, like I've always been a fan." So he was like, "Dude, you should just go be a wrestler." So we laughed it off and like I'm talking like we're hard down laughing. Like I'm in there like, yeah, I'm like just doing like goofy wrestling stuff. So then later on that same night, like I'm up at like 3 a.m. because I'm not sleeping. I'm scrolling, and something just said Google Pro Wrestling near me. So I did that and messed around, and Ethan's school was like 15 minutes up the road. I was like, man, this is a scam. Like I've never heard of any kind of local wrestling around here. Like there's no way. So I messaged the page and I was like, hey, I'm a big wrestling fan, want to come out and give it a try. They messaged back like that morning. They were like, hey, like come by to school tonight. We're doing training. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting robbed out of my money. Cool. So I pull up to the place and it's this warehouse. And I'm like, am I in the right place? So I walk in and there's an MMA school on one side. I'm like, okay, this is definitely not the right place. Like I definitely just got scammed. So I stand there and watch them for a little bit. And then a guy comes up and he's like, hey, how are you? Like, where you want to sign up? I'm like, I thought this was the wrestling school. Like, I got robbed. And he was like, nah, man, the wrestling school's around back. So I'm like, okay. So I just watched you guys for no reason. So I swing around back and they're back there. Like, I walk in the door and there's this big 20 by 20 wrestling ring and they're in there like killing it. And I was just mesmerized. I was like, yo, this is legit. And Ethan was like, yeah, man, like we have a standard at the school. If you want to go check out other schools and come back, I'll be here. So that kind of threw me off. And I was like, okay, bet. I guess I'll just sign up. I'm not about to go outsource because you're like 10 minutes up the road. But I mean, Ethan became one of my best friends through training. He was in my wedding. And like he's just always been a good resource to have. And he's gotten me so many connections in wrestling, man. And like even when I wanted to give up on myself with this thing, like he didn't let me. So mad love to him. And I debuted against him. So it was pretty cool.
What was it like?
Was the yeah.
What was the experience like? Like you said that you did not know anything about wrestling, like WWE type stuff, like that was not on TV, right? And so, what was it like getting into that world and independent wrestling and not knowing anything about it previously?
So I was sort of familiar with like the bigger indies. Like I knew about the CZWs, I knew about the Ring of Honors,
Right.
but as far as like
Right.
local stuff, I had no idea. So the
Right.
first show I went to was a PWX show,
Okay.
RIP. But yeah, I went to a PWX show and I was like, dude, this is pretty cool. And like I think my first show was Andre Chase from Chase U. It was his last show on the Indies. So I got to see him like have his big send off, and I was like, "Yo, that's kind of inspirational." Like this dude's literally about to go make money on TV, and I got to watch his last like local match. And I don't know, man. I started to do my research once I got more into training and just watching the guys in the area. And every weekend I was in somebody's car. Like if somebody was going to a show, I was in their car, learning how to set up a ring. Like it never failed. Like I have since I walked in the door February 2021, I think I've only taken like 3 weekends off. One of them being my wedding weekend.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
So yeah.
Yeah. How important is it to be part of that, the crew setting up, helping out, and stuff like that? And how do you feel that is in helping develop a young wrestler for the future?
I made a vow to myself because I've been that guy, like, which I'm still one of the young guys on shows. So like I've been on shows where like there's been some old heads that are like, hey, can y'all like hurry up and get this ring up? I'm ready to get in there and roll around. And like everybody else is looking around, and I'm like, hey man, you want to come help? Like, I know you're a vet, but I ain't never seen you on TV. Like, get your ass on this ring and help. So I made a vow to myself to like, no matter how big I get in wrestling, like I always want to have some kind of hand on like getting the ring set up. So like even when companies hit me up and they're like, hey man, call time is 3:00. I'm like, cool, call time is 3:00, but what time is ring set up? Because if I'm gonna drive, like especially if it's a long drive, like I might as well get there early, help set up the ring. That way I know how the ring like moves, because every wrestling ring is not the same.
Right.
And I mean, I don't feel right, especially at shows that have like a big following and like they have trainees there to set up the ring. Like I don't feel right coming in, making money on y'all's ring that y'all set up and not at least helping, you know? Like I don't think that highly of myself to where I'm too good to set up a wrestling ring that I'm about to perform in.
Right.
So, it's something that guys should take pride in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've worked shows before where I've seen guys just sitting there on their cell phones and not doing a damn thing. You know what I mean? After chairs are set up and not even helping with the ring. It's quite a common thing, unfortunately.
I mean,
and I've also been to shows where like I'll see and this isn't all the time, but I've seen veterans out there, guys who weren't booked on the show. Now, granted, obviously they're trying to get in good, but they'll get in there even though they're not booked and help set the rings up and tear down.
Right.
Like, obviously, there's probably an ulterior motive, but they don't have to do all that. That's pretty cool too. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it just shows you. It speaks to me. Listening to you talk, it tells me about your work ethic. Which, if you're gonna have that kind of work ethic when the lights aren't on and the cameras aren't on, you're probably going to have a really good work ethic when the cameras are on, so that would impress me if I were a promoter.
Right.
Absolutely. Because it's not hard. It's not hard. Setting up a ring is not hard. Tearing down a ring is not hard. Taking 2 or 3 boards, if that's all you're going to do, it's not hard.
Those boards aren't light, but yeah, I've helped with that before, It's I don't necessarily have to, but I do.
Can I put you on the spot? And you don't have to say, we're definitely going to do this in anonymity. You're not going to name any names, but have you ever had any bad experiences in a ring? I mean, you're kind of a high flyer, so I would imagine that's a big concern for you, because you're not the kind of guy who's going to sit and hold a wrist lock for 5 minutes. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but do you have any crazy horror stories?
Nah, man. I have a
kind
of a motto when it comes to flying: fly with a purpose. Like if I can do something that gets a reaction without flying, like prime example, I didn't fly at all at UPWA. It was hot in that building for one. like I get so excited in my entrance that sometimes I gas myself out in the entrance for two. So yeah, I didn't need the fly because I already had you guys behind me. Like the crowd was already connected. Now, if there's a situation where the crowd, because like I've been at shows where like match one starts and like prime example, there was a show I went to and match one started. There's this group of like drunk college kids and they're like, "Yo, somebody go off the top rope," and nobody wanted to give it to them. Like everybody just wanted to do their wrestling. I finished the match with a doggone crossbody off the top rope because that's what they wanted. That's all they wanted.
Yeah.
So that's what I gave them. But yeah, I fly with a purpose because I'm not gonna be the highest flyer on every show, especially in my hometown. Like there's guys that can flip 3 or 4 times, and like I don't want to be the third best flippy guy. So I pull it out when I need it. Because then it's like, oh, like, dang, D Angelo just did that. Like, yeah.
You make it make sense, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You also got to wrestle a Southeastern veteran, Hang Time, the other night. Hang Time's, he's a veteran. Hang Time, that match had a very Lawler or Zbyszko feel to it. And if you know what that, Rick knows what I'm talking about. There was a lot of talking, a lot of crowd interaction. Not a whole lot of interaction amongst the wrestlers for the first few minutes, but that's what gets the crowd invested. And then like you said, you don't have to go out there and kill yourself and jump from a flaming table and do all that crazy stuff,
But look, that little bit of interaction was my favorite part of the match. Genuinely.
And I tell you, he threw his shirt out to a young kid, and I know the kid very well. Man, you made his night. You made it because he's kind of shy, and I kept pushing him. Hey, come out by the aisles, get some dap from the wrestlers. And he's very shy. When you gave him that shirt, man, he was like over the moon, dude.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's what it's all about for me, man. Like I grew up that kid with no male role model. So being that male role model for other kids like that means the world to me.
What else you got, Andy?
No, I just I don't want to get too personal, but you opened up that can of worms. So, in the pro wrestling world, do you see like Ethan as like a father figure to you in that world, and what role does he fill in that sense?
Not necessarily father. I see Ethan more as like that big brother.
Okay.
I'm the oldest child, so I have oldest child syndrome. But like being able to be the little brother sometimes is kind of cool, and like. There's a lot of guys that I really look up to. Caprice Coleman is another one.
Love Caprice. Love
Caprice. Him. Like anytime I am around him, like he always is dropping knowledge on me. I recently got to carpool with Fuego del Sol, and man, I got to pick his brain a little bit, and like me and him hit it off, and like we kind of have the same mindset with stuff, and like. Just having a lot of guys like that around, like it helps because I always have somebody that I can reach out to and be like, hey man, like, can you critique this for me? Or can you help explain this? Because you've been somewhere further than I've been. So like, can you make this make sense for me so I can like make sure I'm on the right track, So those are just a few to name. Ethan's been more like he's been like that big brother to me. So
Right. Let's talk about some of your matches that you've had recently. I have your YouTube channel up. I got the chance to watch a couple of them.
Oh, can I ask about one match before you go too far? Because I didn't know this match happened.
Sure.
Do you know that D'Angelo had well, it's really not much of a pleasure, but he had the pleasure of being in a handicap match recently against the Dawson brothers? I just heard about this.
All right.
I want to hear how that went down because those are my boys, man. Dave and Zane are my boys.
Dude, I love those guys so much. They took care of me.
Even after that match?
Oh man, dude, my neck still hurt from that match. They gave me a double power bomb for the finish, bro, and like we hit, and I was like, ugh. Like there's some balls where it's like it's clean, but there's some where it's like, okay, I'm gonna stay here for a second.
It's been quite some time since it's been a while since I've seen those guys. I don't, they were on NWA TV for a while. Now I don't, I don't know where.
Rick's probably trying to figure out how you ended up in a handicap match against those two big brothers.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
how did that happen?
So I'm in a feud with one of the guys that I started with day one. So we're in kind of like a blood feud. He
What's his
so
name?
actually used to run in. His name is Dennis Parker Jr. DPJ. That's what he goes by. But so DPJ and I literally started day one together. We went through training together, and he's our biggest heel on the roster right now. But so our company used to run in Columbia, which Columbia's nickname was the Soda City. So our mid card championship was the Soda City Championship, which
And not to cut you off, but the promotion is
Palmetto Championship Wrestling.
okay. Okay.
So yeah, I was the last person to win the Soda City Championship at Palmetto, and then we moved it to a different location in South Carolina. We moved it to Camden, South Carolina, which is where we run now. So they were like, hey, we're going to rebrand this belt and make it the Mid Carolina Heavyweight Championship, which is the white strap belt that I have, which beautiful belt, by the way. So the storyline is DPJ, who grew up going to PCW shows, like in real life, he feels some type of way because I retired the belt that he never got to win. And, he grew up coming to this company, and I came in off of a whim and just became this big success, and he doesn't like it. So I had a match. I won. He came out with the old belt, knocked me across the head with it. So next show, I'm in another match. He comes out and starts beating me again. Gets me disqualified. Holds the belt over my head. Okay, cool. So before this most recent show, I cut a promo and I was like, hey man, when I see you, it's on site. I don't care if it's in the ring. I don't care if it's at the gas station, da-da-da. So we get there. He opens the show with a promo and he's like, hey, I don't feel safe around D Angelo. So I signed a no contact clause for this show. And the crowd is losing it. My mom's in the front row, like cussing this kid out. She's like, I had to like remind my mom sometimes, like, hey, dial it back. It's okay. I'm gonna be the superhero here in a second. But so yeah, he makes the no contact clause. So I got to pick his opponent, he got to pick mine. So he was already in the ring. So we had this girl that was debuting. Her name's Joya Blake, Dirty J. She's gonna be a star. I'm going to say it. But yeah, so we called her out. She came out there and she ended up winning the match. I of course I went out and distracted him. She put him in a Kimura lock or something and made him tap out. So show goes on. I'm the match after intermission, so I come out and I'm energetic with the crowd. And then he comes out and he's like, okay, cool. You thought you were slick earlier. I have the perfect opponents for you. I was like, what you mean opponents? And then the Dawsons music hit. And I was there. And luckily it wasn't like it was a handicap tag, thank God. So it wasn't just both of them in there like beating the crap out of me. They were tagging it out. But it got to a point where I was about to win the match. DPJ came out, distracted me, ran around the ring, slid into the ring, and as he slid in, I slid in behind him, he slid out. Next thing I know, I'm in the air getting powerbombed by both of the Dawsons.
Some bad dudes right there.
So yeah.
Yeah.
They're another two guys that are full of wisdom, full of knowledge. Like much love.
They've been around for quite some time, right? Haven't they, Andy?
Oh, a long, yeah. I moved to North Carolina in 2008, and they were on the first show I went to.
Wow.
And they had already been on the scene, so yeah, they've been around a long time. But just like they might have been real nasty, evil guys that night. Maybe D Angelo ticked them off or whatever. But really, don't tell anybody the secret. But they're the sweetest, nicest guys in the world. Don't tell anybody that. Okay?
You just said that on air. Whatever. So what are some of your favorite groups that you work for? I mean, in your area. Are you down in the Wilmington area, like near Andy is?
So I'm actually like 3.5 hours south of that. I'm down in South Carolina.
Jesus. Wow. Oh, yeah. That's right. You are. That's right. I did see that. You're right.
Honestly, every promotion I've worked for so far has been a blast. Like I love professional wrestling, man, and like I've got to do some cool stuff in professional wrestling, and like I don't, knock on wood, I really don't have a bad experience at any show. Like no matter the size of the crowd, no matter who's running the show, like there's always like there's gonna be drama in every locker room, but I tune that stuff out. When that stuff starts popping off, I either go out and interact with fans or I put my headphones in. I stay out of it. And like I've genuinely just had a blast like being a part of every show that I've been a part of. Like getting to network, meet new people. Guys like Andy, who like from day one was awesome. You know, his kids really got me over it my first time in UPWA. Because like the crowd didn't know me. But like they were front row, they were loud, and I was like, man, that's what it's all about.
I don't know where they get that from.
You have to make your way up here one day, up to the Northeast, up to specifically Connecticut. I mean, what would you think about coming up here?
I was literally telling Andy, like, man, I've been wanting to get up north. Like, I've been wanting to branch out because I know the scene is amazing up there. So,
New England is on fire right now. Connecticut is on fire, and it's like seems like now there's like 6 or 7 different promotions, and literally you can drive to anywhere in the state and get to it within an hour. You know what I mean? So it's like it's kind of amazing. So, you know, sometimes I could do 2 shows in one day, and I have.
I'm gonna catch y'all during football season when my Patriots are playing.
But there you go. I like this guy already. Look at that. I knew I liked you. So it's just fun that, you know, Connecticut, like, I think there's like 6 or 7 different promotions now. Like, and they don't necessarily run over each other in each other's area, not necessarily, you know what I mean? And the only fault about it is Connecticut's not necessarily a big state, like maybe down where you guys are. So there's a lot of the same talent on each and every show. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of the sharing of the talent. Yeah,
I think you need to bring somebody up from down south, maybe spruce up the crowd.
I mean,
you know,
there's been some of your guys. There's been some of the guys that have been down there, like Kenny Bangle has been up here. Ray Pittman has been up here. Ray Pittman, I got to call one of his matches.
They're actually Jersey guys. You're a little closer.
They work a lot down. Well, they work. Yeah. They don't. I never see them down in. I mean, I think they came to Massachusetts one time too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're Jersey guys, so that's not too far from home for them. But I know Colby Carino brought a crew of guys up too. Well, actually, it might have been Massachusetts not long ago. But yeah, New England's got a hot scene right now. You guys always got something going on.
Yeah.
A lot of your guys are starting. I mean, look, Carmelo Hayes would be the most obvious recent example, right?
Yeah, I saw his last.
My favorite person on the main roster right now.
I saw his last match on the Indies at a local fair, and then he was on TV just a few weeks later. So it was kind of amazing. You know what I mean? It was great.
And to parallel that down here, down in the South, I don't know if you ever worked with Jay Malachi, but we have Javon Evans, you know, who has risen to like rapidly to fame in NXT.
Yeah, just within the last couple of weeks. Within the last couple of weeks, really.
Did you ever work with him?
We never had a match together, but like we've always been in locker rooms and like we always got along really well. Like I said, I literally spoke to him this morning. Like he's doing really good. I'm proud of him.
Awesome.
That's amazing. He's only 20 years. That kid's been wrestling since he's like 13 or something crazy like that. I used to catch him at Carino's PWF shows. It's crazy, man. But I'm happy for him, excited for him. That might be you soon. Just saying.
Fingers crossed, man.
Have you ever worked at any indies in Florida? Who have you worked for down there? Anybody?
I did a show with WWN down in Florida. Gabe Sapolsky was down there at the time, so I got to network with him a little bit. And then my buddy Cheese, who's featured on NWA a lot, he was doing a show down in the Tampa area that I flew down for, and I got to work on that show. So that was pretty cool. I've been wanting to get back down to Florida, but
who was running the WWN down there? I know you said Gabe Sapolsky was involved, but was that do you remember
who else in Florida? Is Full Impact Pro or whatever still involved or no?
Yeah, Trevin Adams and Sal. I forgot Sal's last name.
Oh, I know who you mean. I can't think of his name, but yeah, I know who you mean. He's been down there forever.
Yeah, I love Trevin, man, because Trevin used to be involved with PWX, and like I'd already kind of had that relationship there. So when I got down there, he was like, "Dang, man, last time I saw you, you were just a trainee setting up the ring." I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm big time now."
Have you made any inroads? Have you been booked by AML? at all?
I have
'Cause
not.
that's where I'd like to see you go.
I would love to go to AML, man. White Mike is there, and Mike is one of my favorite human beings. Like even outside of wrestling, like he's so funny. Like anytime I'm in the locker room with White Mike, like I know I'm going to be cracking up. So he's been there a lot. I have a lot of friends that have been on AML shows that have been like, "Hey, man, like you need to get up here." So
And just think like Mike and Killjoy are real tight. What a combination that is, right?
I had one of my funnest matches with Rob Killjoy.
Okay. Tell us about it.
It was
Talk
just
about it.
the whole time, like his whole character. It's not even a character, man. That's just Rob.
Yeah.
Like the saying is Rob be Robin. Like Rob is really just a funny person, man. Like the whole match, like I'm just trying to hold back from laughing. And we're in this. It was a triple threat match. It was me, him, and Zay Vega. And like, man, there was a spot where Rob had me in like a camel clutch, and he had Zay on his back, and Zay has his long braid, like a Bianca Belair type braid. So the braid falls into my face, and I'm like, Rob, you better not. And he starts like choking me with the braid, and I'm just like, but I'm like dying laughing on the inside. And man, like he's so goofy, but he's so good. He's such a good wrestler, man.
What promotion was that?
That was at Extreme World Wrestling down in Charlotte.
Okay. Do you work for them often?
Oh yeah, like I was working for them maybe once a week all of last year because like they usually run on, if somebody's running a Saturday, they're gonna run a Friday.
Who runs that show? Who runs that show?
A guy named Manny Mack.
Okay, because I think wasn't Lodi involved with that promotion, or he works with
Yeah,
them
he
a lot?
was. He was for a while. But yeah, they that I always say that's like my second home. So XWW does their own award show every year, and they named me their like rookie of the year last year, which that was pretty cool for me because like I made that same connection with them before I even debuted. Like I would just go up and help with setup, like with their ring or whatnot, and just hang out because I just wanted to get my name out there.
Right.
And literally the night after I debuted, Manny had one of his guys come out and watch me, and he was like, "Hey man, like I want to start booking you." And like I planted that seed from day one. And like I have a great relationship with them. I love working for them. It's a positive locker room, positive environment.
Is there anywhere down where you are that you still want to, like we talked about, I guess when I was texting you earlier, we talked about the AIWF and you haven't been booked there yet. And I may or may not have thrown your name in the hat when speaking to the guy after I spoke to you that you should be booked. I might have, maybe. So, and they always have like a lot of talent. They got like a really great champion in the Golden Boy Greg Anthony and stuff. And I watched their weekly TV show up here on YouTube. And I don't know. Was there other groups down there that you'd like to get into?
They've been one, and I've reached out. I don't know if I was talking to the right people, but I've reached out to a few sources. But they're one that I want to get on. AML, which is who you mentioned, that's another one I've been wanting to get on. DPW, Deadlock Pro Wrestling. That's another one. They're
huge
doing
right now.
great stuff that I would like to be a part of. I did a student show with Firestar Pro Wrestling, and I would like to get back up there and do some of their shows. You know, that's where Javon Evans, that's where he broke out from. Like that's his home.
Are you good friends with LeBron?
Kozone, yeah, he so we've done a few shows together, and like he's always been one to like keep up with me, and he's a good resource to have. So like anytime he is in the locker room with me, like he does, like I do ask him for critiques, like he's always willing to talk. And like he's a very knowledgeable guy. Like, and that's why like when he did give me that opportunity to come work one of the student shows, like I took it. Like I took the day off. I drove up there. It was on a Thursday. Got to work with some of his guys and like learn their style. So I mean, I feel like that's one thing I pride myself on. Like not the sidebar. Like I don't get set to one style of wrestling. I want to be able to be flexible to every style. Like if there's gonna be a match where I gotta high fly with somebody, cool. Like I'm not gonna outfly you, but I'm gonna be able to match your style. If there's a guy that wants the old school, like we're gonna old school it out. We're gonna snatch a little hold and we're gonna work it. If that's what the crowd wants, that's what I'm gonna give them. And I feel like being versatile like that will make it easy for me to wrestle anywhere. Like I would
Right.
love to go overseas and learn like some catch style or some strong style. Like, just learn every style of wrestling. That way, like I can be in any locker room and be comfortable and be like, hey, I can work your style. I can work lucha. I can do all of that stuff.
Yeah. Damn, I forgot my next question. Andy, go ahead.
Well,
I forgot.
you mentioned overseas, and again, I was at the UPWA show in Wilmington, North Carolina, Saturday night that you fought Hang Time on. And a mutual friend of all three of ours, a guy by the name of Roosevelt, used to formerly known as Victor Andrews, was there.
Did he officially
And he
change
just
the
got
name? So
yeah, they announced him as Roosevelt,
okay.
and he's
Okay.
wearing like the church gear thing. I don't think that's intention. I shouldn't say that. He looks like he could be a stockbroker or something. I don't know. But I love the guy. But no, he just got back from Germany, and I don't know if it was a Germany trip or what. I love him. He's known him for so many years, but like he's been hustling and working so hard. And I texted him yesterday. I'm like, dude, it's showing, man. I'm seeing it. You're making more of a connection with the crowd. You're reaching new levels. So that being said, and I'm not saying it's because of his overseas trip, but have you reached out to any promoters overseas or vice versa? Have they reached out to you? Have you heard anything on that level yet, or is it too early for that?
I have. I currently have uh reached out and extended, well, shown interest for companies in Germany, Japan, and England. So
Okay.
I'm just I'm still waiting on my passport. So hopefully here soon, like we can make something shake. Because once I get that passport, like, I'm blessed to have a wife that's very supportive of this dream, and like she's ready to like push me to like get out there. And like Japan has always been my dream. Like I've just always wanted to go to Japan because it's just such a beautiful place.
Yeah. And
But
it's amazing to have such support as well. That's a blessing to have the support from your wife. Absolutely.
That was my question. My next question was going to be, how would your wife feel about that? But you beat me to it. So
oh yeah. So depending on how long I go out there, if I go anywhere, like if it's 2 weeks, she's either gonna fly out the first week or the second week. Like she'll either see my debut or my last match and fly back with me, and we're just gonna make it work. Like, but I mean, we have a plan. We have, and
Do you have a plan? Yeah.
she's fully supportive. So
Is she a fan at all of professional wrestling? Oh yeah. All right. There you go. There
dude,
you go.
so when we first met, like wrestling was like the first thing that we kind of like bonded on. She was like, "Yeah, I love Randy Orton." I was like, "Yeah, he's cool." I was like, "Do you love Randy Orton or do you love Randy Orton?" You know. But nah, we were going through Facebook one day, and like back in like I think it was like 2010, 2011, whenever the Nexus first like broke out,
Yeah.
she had a memory on Facebook, and she's like, "Oh my God, Justin Gabriel's my favorite wrestler." So like I pull it up, and I'm like, "Do you remember this?" And she's like, "I don't even remember who Justin Gabriel is." So that had me dying laughing. And then I think Evan Bourne was another one where she was like, "Yeah, I like Evan Bourne, like he's so cool, da da da." So I ended up going to I did extra work with New Japan last year in Philly, and Matt Sydal was there, so I snapped a picture with her and sent it to him. I was like, "Hey, look, it's Evan Bourne." Shit. So yeah, nah, she
That's
loved it.
that's cool to have that she's a fan because it's just all that much more support. I don't get that around here, but it's like as much, I should say.
Oh yeah,
Anyways, Andrew.
she's also my biggest critic. Like
Well,
anytime I
biggest
have like a
critic?
match. Oh yeah, if I have a match I'm proud of, and like I'm kind of like riding high, she doesn't let me get like overly confident about it. She's like, "Hey man, it was cool, but like it's not the best you can do." I'm like, "Dang, like can I enjoy this? Can I enjoy this high a little bit?" Like nah, man, we on to the next one. That was cool. Get it out your system, watch it back, but we on to the next one.
So you mentioned Caprice before, Caprice Coleman. Have you ever wrestled him?
That is one of my dream matches because everybody tells me like, "Yo, you look like you could be Caprice's son." I'm like, okay, well, uh, yeah, but yeah, that is one of my dream matches. There are a few promotions that I pitched it to, and they're like, yeah, if he's available, and I mean, talking to him, he sounds down to do it. So, I mean,
He's the kind of guy, and you already kind of said this, but like he's a true mentor. I think if he meets a young guy like you and he really likes you, he's willing to take you under his wing, and he's legitimate. Like, he's not looking for anything other than you to be successful. And I think that's awesome. And have you seen his son wrestle yet? Chase.
Yeah, Chase and I have done some shows together, man. And he's
Okay.
gonna be really good.
Okay.
Really
Yeah,
good.
I saw him at actually it was he and Caprice were in a 6-man on one of Baron Bullard's WWP shows. It was him, Caprice, and that kid Big Vaughn that was there the other night.
Yeah.
And they fought Baron, Trey, and Johnny. That was a lot of fun because it was Chase's debut, so got to see him work with his team with his dad. It was really, really, really cool.
All right. That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen him before, I believe. Just not a lot up here. We got a few more minutes, Andy.
No, just not much, but yeah, talking about Caprices, one more note on that. I got to make him feel old when I told him I used to watch him on NCW Wildside. But that only shows how old I am too, right?
You're not supposed to say that. I used to watch that up here too, and now it's funny that you say that because I go back and watch it. It's hard to think that some of that is like 25 years old, if not older, you know.
All right, so D Angelo, that being said, like, do you go back? Obviously, WWE, WCW is very accessible, even ECW with the network. But do you ever go back and find like indie shows or anything on YouTube from, maybe 15, 20 years ago? Like old, I heard you mention CZW or stuff like that.
Oh yeah, like I will binge watch like old. I started binge watching Evolve not too long ago.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's not too much older, but like going back and seeing how many of those guys are like main eventers on TV right now is pretty cool.
Right.
I recently I've been like picking different old school wrestlers because I do want to learn like an old school style, so to say. So I've been watching a lot of Ricky Steamboat. I've been watching a lot of I watched a lot of 80s All Japan.
Okay. That was a great period for them.
Yeah.
The 1980s. It really was.
Yeah. I've been watching a lot of the Lucha and like Cruiserweight from WCW, like Dean Malenko, Eddie and Ray, like that whole period. I've been binge watching a lot of that. Just to have stuff to pull from. Like I like to go back and watch a lot of Cedric Alexander's old stuff from his indie days.
Ooh, he was great. He still is. He still is great. Don't get me wrong, but his indie stuff, like, he's so slept on.
Yeah. It hurts me that like him and Ricochet never really got to like main event. Like, which I'm very like with Ricochet being released, like I'm very excited. Which I know it's like a one in a million chance, but like if I can get a match with Ricochet, bro, that'll make my career.
You never know what.
You got to get in with AML because Tracy's gonna be one of the first guys.
Tracy's gonna get him. I already know. It's like when I said that when Dolph got released, I was like, yeah, he's gonna be an AML. He's gonna be an AML or DPW. I already know it.
But yeah, could you imagine like Cedric and Ricochet at the Tokyo Dome or something?
Oh my god,
dude, that would be right up there with Osprey and Ricochet. Be right with the same level. I really have that much belief in Cedric. I really do. I used to watch him every month at PWF, and he was the heel. He was a heel, which is funny because he was always like a baby face in Ring of Honor, and all of a sudden he's like this heel champion. And man, did him and Tommy Thomas get heat. They used to get so much heat.
Dude, I love Tommy. Tommy's such a cool guy.
He's the Barker for high spots now.
Yep.
Oh, the guy that does all the virtuals, that guy?
Yeah, he was a hell of a heel manager. Dude.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
I knew he was involved somehow, and I just really
got so much heat. Yeah.
When Ethan was at PWX full time, he was in a tag team called Worst Case Scenario, and Tommy was their manager as well. It was Ethan and Elijah Evans.
Wow.
So, I think Tommy came along in an era where managers weren't as prevalent, which I think we're kind of getting back to where managers are okay
slowly,
again,
but slowly.
Yeah. But Tommy should have had a contract somewhere. He really should.
Oh yeah. I've been trying to talk my wife into being my manager, but she's like, nah, man, that's your thing. I just like being there.
Does she show up to the shows a lot?
Oh yeah.
Every show. Yeah.
That's my car partner. Like some weekends, I told her like just take a weekend off. Like I know you had a long week. Like we're doing this every weekend. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I take weekends off to give to her so that we do have that that us time, which I feel like that's healthy. That gives me a time to like rest my body, but also do something fun, not wrestling.
Right. Just hang out, go to a movie or what have you, and chill. Yeah.
Like 2 weeks ago, we went and did a Walking Dead tour in Georgia.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
A lot of the stuff. So,
are you a fan? You're a fan of The Walking Dead?
I watched it up until till Glenn died, and then I stopped watching.
I watched season 9 and then up to season 9, and then I did not catch because that's when COVID happened, and then I didn't watch season 10 until like late last year, I think. So it took me a couple years to finish watching. So, but it was one of my favorite shows for a very long time, even though that some of it I just could not get into. I was just like, oh God, this episode sucks. That it just became repetitive after a while.
Yeah.
That's
how I feel.
Yeah. Is there any final questions, Andy, you have before we wrap things up?
Yeah, just one more thing, because I've only seen you, in UPWA, and you've been moving up the card, but you haven't really gotten into any main event matches yet. So I haven't seen any promos from you. And you might be the best promo in the world because you did come up on Steve Austin, so that's possible. I don't know. But if there was one aspect of your game that you feel is weak and that you need to work on, would you be willing to tell us what that would be?
I mean, as far as in-ring work, I feel like there's always room for improvement. But I think my physique is something that I've been kind of toying back and forth with. Because when I broke into wrestling, I was like 260. Like I had a gut. Like I was huge. But around November of last year, because I was cutting weight for the wedding, but I got down to like 170, like 175, and now I've built back up. I built back up to 195. So like it's not necessarily like losing or maintaining weight that's the issue for me. Like I just want to start toning my body up and start looking like I belong on TV.
Right.
Like, I feel like I look decent for like a independent wrestler, but like if I really want to be a TV guy, like I feel like I need to have that look.
So and they have standards. They do still look for that look. They might not be the Hulk Hogan's and Ultimate Warriors, but they do want people who look like real pro athletes. So that's a good point.
Yeah. Why don't you throw out where everybody can find you, your social media and whatnot?
Okay. Yeah, I'm on Instagram's probably the one you'll catch me on the most. Instagram or Facebook. My Instagram is d.angelo_pro. I think my TikTok is the same. I post a lot on TikTok. If you go to my Instagram, my link tree, you can find all of my social media just to make that easier for everybody. I also have a YouTube page that I post a lot of my matches to, and I did a vlog once, which his kids were featured on the vlog because that was my first time.
Dude, I had no idea. The other night after we were hanging out, I went home and watched. I was telling Rick, I'm like, oh, let me. So, I had this whole idea in mind, getting to know you a little better here. So I go and watch the vlog, and like 5 or 10 minutes in, I'm like, wait a second, we're all in this thing, dude.
Yeah. Nah, man, but I am gonna start doing more with my vlog, like doing more like.
I love that.
Just to keep people updated, because I have a lot of friends from like high school and college that are like, man, like, what's the process like? And I'm like, okay, I'll just show you instead of trying to have the same conversation 50 times.
Right, right.
But yeah, all that's in my link tree on Instagram. That's pretty much it.
I want to thank you for coming on, and hopefully we can have you back in the near future. I want everybody to go to that Instagram, click that link tree, and follow on every social media format. Thank you very much for coming on. Andy, thank you as well.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me.